Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Arturo Rubio. I'm a member at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. I was born in Tijuana, Mexico, what seems like kalpas ago, but I've lived in San Diego since 2011. I first visited the Buddhist Temple of San Diego in 2015 and received my Buddhist name the following year. I also joined the temple's board of directors, and at the behest of Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi, I began looking for opportunities to give back to the community. And since then, I've been coordinating BTSD's Dana group. This year, I became a certified minister's assistant and began translating Bishop Parada's weekly Dial the Dharma message to Spanish. When I can find the time, I also record YouTube videos about Buddhism in Spanish. So anyways, I talk a little about that, about what I've been doing in the last few years, and I think, wow, I've done all this. I definitely feel like I've been pretty busy since the first time I visited the Buddhist Temple of San Diego back in 2015. But before I get into how our temple looks for ways to give back to the community, I'd like to talk a bit about how I got here and how Jodo Shinshu has shaped my worldview. Prior to this, my knowledge about Buddhism was very limited. I remember a history book in elementary school, images of a statue portraying a man by the name of Siddhartha Gautama, the enlightened one, whatever that meant. Later on, hearing about the Dalai Lama, Richard Gere being interviewed on TV about, talking about his conversion to Buddhism, pop artists singing about the situation in Tibet. It all sounded so far away, so foreign. I really didn't understand what it meant to be Buddhist or why someone would feel the need to convert to it. Fast forward to 2015, and I've just finished taking a couple of college courses, philosophy and world religions, where I had the opportunity to learn a lot more about Buddhism and other religions. I love learning about a variety of traditions so much that I decided to visit different places of worship in the San Diego area in an effort to personally experience other religions, religious traditions, and not just leave it at reading about them in books. One of the places I visited was, of course, the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. And I guess I liked it because I'm still here. I'm still wondering why I got a lollipop the day I became a board member, though. Sucker. Oh, but seriously, I stayed because Buddhism and Jodo Shinshu just makes a lot of sense to me. Coming from a Catholic background, it just seemed incredible that I could visit a place of worship and not feel pressured in any way. To be told that everything is a mystery and that I shouldn't be asking questions. Just have faith and accept everything blindly. I became very interested in Buddhism and read every book I could get my hands on. Tibetan Buddhism, Zen, Japanese schools, Chinese schools, Theravada, Mahayana, etc. I've always been a history buff, so certain Buddhist concepts really clicked. The shifting of cultures, languages, and borders, and the rise and fall of empires made it very evident that everything is constantly changing. Nothing is static. Impermanence, impermanence, impermanence. And I always understood that many conflicts, many abuses perpetrated by one group against another are usually the result of someone's resistance to change. Another concept I thought about while reading history books as a teenager is that everything is connected in some way. We can easily fall into the trap of seeing certain events as completely isolated, completely disconnected from other events. I came to understand that we need to see the big picture. Everything is connected, interdependence. I was also amazed when I read that scientists have detected high activity levels in the brains of meditating monks and nuns. How long-term meditation practices gradually rewire your brain, reaching mental states that us simple beings can't even imagine. It made me wonder how much potential is in the human brain, ready to be tapped through certain rigorous mental activities. But this also made me realize something. After reading a lot on the subject and attempting to maintain a somewhat regular meditation practice, I realized that I'm just a simple human being with limited abilities. With a full time job and a family to support, there is no way that I could dedicate hours and hours of daily meditation or to detach myself from society in order to reach lofty spiritual goals. This is where the beauty of Joro Shinshu became apparent to me. Once I understood that Amida Buddha is not a god and that chanting in English during services doesn't need to feel like I'm back in Catholic Mass, that's when I realized, yes, this is for me. This is my home. This is where I belong. To know that I am the recipient of endless compassion, just as I am, this imperfect and simple human being, that I'm embraced, always, never to be abandoned. Come as you are. No difficult practices or long meditation sessions needed. This is something that attracts me to Joro Shinshu to this day. Joro Shinshu Buddhism is truly open to all. After all, Shinran Shonin made it a point to preach to everyone, not only the upper class. He saw exile as an opportunity to share the teachings with the common folk, the peasants, those who had to toil in order to feed their families, those who didn't have the ability, inclination, or the time to engage in difficult spiritual practices. Just as Shakyamuni Buddha rejected India's caste system and shared the Dharma with everyone, even those who were considered untouchable, Shinran Shonin shared the teachings with those who were largely ignored by the upper classes. And so, to this day, we are all the recipients of his great teachings. We can rejoice knowing that we are embraced by endless compassion, regardless of our defects and limitations. Another characteristic benefit of Joro Shinshu is this big emphasis on Sangha. Where other Buddhist traditions may focus on isolated or individual efforts in an attempt to reach enlightenment or anything marginally close to it, Joro Shinshu continues to revolve around the idea that we're all interconnected and that we best function in an interconnected way. What we experience in our temples on a regular basis, family-oriented activities, learning and discussing Buddhist topics in group settings, teaching our young ones from an early age that we should try to help those who are less fortunate, all these things that bind us together as a Sangha are priceless. The Sangha is truly a treasure. The no pressure atmosphere in the Sangha has always been very palpable. For the first few months, I came to services by myself, but eventually my son, Arturo Jr., started coming with me. He made new friends here, enjoyed Dharma school activities, and of course the food. Then my wife started coming too. She's not Buddhist, but she's always eager to help any way she can. Nobody around here complains whenever she prepares tostadas, tacos, quesadillas, or other delicious dishes. That's how she connects with the Sangha. No pressure. Nobody has said, hey, you need to convert to Buddhism if you want to continue cooking for us. Now, about supporting those who are less fortunate and giving back to our communities. As we all know, the concept of selfless giving, dana, is one of the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections. These 6 perfections are considered best practices towards developing bodhisattva qualities. They are an integral part of the bodhisattva ideal. I've been reading a book titled Faces of Compassion, Classic Bodhisattva Archetypes and Their Modern Expression by Taigen Dan Layden. Let me see if I can share this, my screen. Okay, you can see a copy here of this book in Amazon. So the title of the book, like I said, Faces of Compassion, Classic Bodhisattva Archetypes and Their Modern Expression by Taigen Dan Layden. It was recommended by one of our temple members recently. It's written in a simple language that even a 1-year-old can understand, according to Amazon. Early on, it goes over the 4 bodhisattva vows, which are 1, creations are numberless. I vow to free them. 2, delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. 3, reality is boundless. I vow to perceive it. And 4, the enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Then the author states the following: the 4 bodhisattva vows seem impossible in terms of the conventional human perspective on the world. But the bodhisattva viewpoint demands and is activated by this thorough, universal level of commitment, while simultaneously encompassing the ordinary kindness and helpfulness that we all may perform in our everyday lives. So I was touched by this last part, the ordinary kindness and helpfulness that we all may perform in our everyday lives. But I mean, but like I said, I was touched by that last part. Pretty much by being kind to and helping others, we move closer to that bodhisattva ideal. This is why I think giving back to our community is so important. Now, a little bit of history. About 5 or 6 years ago, our then resident minister, Reverend Kenji Akahoshi, expressed an interest in creating a group that would focus on finding and participating in community service opportunities. He's always talked about practicing an active and engaged type of Buddhism. When some people hear about Buddhism, the first thing that comes to their mind is an image of a monk meditating in a monastery high up in a mountain, completely detached from this world. Reverend Akahoshi always wanted to move away from that image. When he asked me if I wanted to form and coordinate that group, of course I said yes. He then gave me another lollipop. Just kidding. we simply called it the Dharma Group and started looking for opportunities to support our community. Many temple members and Dharma friends have directly and indirectly helped the Dharma Group on many donation drives and other community outreach initiatives over the years. I'm pretty sure that, although not earth-shattering, the simple community service initiatives we as a temple have engaged in over the years have provided some comfort to those who have benefited from them. Whether we've donated school supplies for kids, warm clothing for our homeless population, food items for asylum seekers, or just volunteered our time to sort vegetables at local food distribution centers, these simple efforts have benefited those who are less fortunate, while giving us opportunities to practice Dharma. According to Buddhist doctrine, we are the ones who benefit the most when we donate, volunteer, and help those in need. It is truly a privilege to be able to practice Dharma. We are all interconnected, and what affects others affects us. In his book, let me share this again. In his book, Leighton states, when we understand our deep connection to each other, the dichotomy between self and other is exposed as a provisional fiction. Ultimately, we are each distinct expressions of one whole, not separate entities. It is impossible to be truly free and enlighten oneself if others down the street are in misery. To ignore the suffering of others is to ignore some part of oneself. And then, it is considered preferable not even to know to whom one is giving, and not to know from whom one is receiving. Just to give is the point, without assessing or knowing the results, without making strategic judgments about the effect or fruits of one's giving. I think this is a very important point. Giving is all that matters. We could have an endless discussion about how or why people end up being homeless, for example, or how this impacts our city or our state. But ultimately, this conversation is fruitless. People may end up on the streets due to drug addiction, mental issues, or unaffordable housing. But the fact is that they are there, living on the street, and they need help. When our temple members donate warm clothes for the homeless, they never get to see their faces. They never see the child that gets to class with a backpack full of donated school supplies, or the refugee mother who now has formula to feed her baby. But that's fine. Just to give is the point. To me, this is the essence of Joro Shinshu. It allows us imperfect beings to rest assured that we are forever embraced by Amida Buddha's endless compassion, never to be forsaken. It creates the conditions in which we can thrive as members of our Sangha, where we can benefit from the teachings and rejoice in the interconnections that bring us together. Then, as bodhisattvas in training, we can shift our focus from ourselves to those in need. I close with this quote from the book Faces of Compassion. True gifts do not necessarily entail possessions. To feel wonder and truly appreciate a flower, the sky, or a smile is to give these to Buddha and to extend generosity to all beings. So, thank you very much. That is my segment, and we will have questions and answers later on. Thank you.